5 books and counting. The Tales from the Omni Vault continues to expand as a universe. Go ahead and check the links down in the description to get your copies today. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Omni Viewer, and I know I let my episode-by-episode reviews for Monarch Legacy of Monsters lapse. I realize that, I know. I meant to be consistent with it, but I do have a proper excuse, I think. I had a lot of Godzilla -1 stuff to do, and then the Godzilla Kong the New Empire trailer debuted, and of course I've got Christmas videos to work on. So, yeah, I have been busy, but rest assured I did keep up with Monarch, and I'm going to play catch up now and get my thoughts on these most recent episodes out, including addressing the one thing that wound up being a bit of a controversy. And my particular take on it is probably one you might not be expecting. But first things first, how has the series been progressing? Overall, I think the writing has gotten stronger as it went along. I've been saying from the start that there's certain stuff that was obviously not going to be revealed right from the beginning. We would have to see how the series went in order to really determine what was going to be important, what was making sense, what might actually be an issue further down the line. For example, there were people who found the characters of Kate and May to be kind of abrasive at the beginning, but I figured we had to actually wait a moment and see where their characters went and if we ever got any further explorations into them and whether or not they would get past that abrasiveness before we wrote them off as bad characters. They've both gotten some interesting development as the series has gone along that not only has gotten them, well, okay, Kate's been getting away from her abrasiveness as she gets a bit more immersed in this world, I suppose, and starts to open up a bit more to the people around her. May remains closed off, but there is a reason. And of course, Kentaro, who at first was just kind of there, and he seemed like he was just almost a non-entity, he got some interesting development and has started contributing more to the story. Monster action continues to remain mostly light. In fact, there was one episode that went by where the only monster segments we got was stuff we've already seen, either from the earlier episodes of the series or from Godzilla 2014. And as a result, that was probably done partly to save budget, but it also allowed the human characters a little bit more room to grow and expand. And since I brought up that episode, I may as well address the really big thing that people were addressing at the time, and I gotta say, maybe it's actually a good thing that I wasn't commenting on it in the moment, because by this point I'm sure that people have sort of calmed down about it for the most part, and as such, they might be a little more receptive to what I'm about to say. And what I'm about to say is that regardless of where you stand on this issue, I think a great many people actually kind of missed the point. Just as a reminder, the controversial thing I'm talking about here is that our primary protagonist, I guess you would call her, because she's the one we've been following from the beginning, and that would be Kate, of course, Kate Randa. She is revealed in one of the most recent episodes to be a lesbian. She was in a relationship with another woman, well, at least one other woman, and that was a significant factor in her backstory. Now, this is where people basically wound up splitting into two vastly different directions. There was the side that went very far to the right and said, well, the Monsterverse is ruined because they literally did the whole put a chick in it and make her gay thing, so they're just continuing to play into that sort of pandering, while people veering off to the far left went, yay, representation, lesbianism, our people have won, our tribe is in the Monsterverse. But neither side is focusing on what this actually means for the character. Like, In both cases, ironically enough, everyone is focusing on what Kate has been revealed to be, namely a lesbian. They're not focusing on what that means for her character. I'm sure you can see the irony as well. Two sides go off in vastly different directions and yet somehow wind up having the exact same issue. And people say that the horseshoe version of political theory doesn't actually make sense. But anyway, we have to look at this from a story perspective. Yes, Kate has been revealed to be a lesbian. I mean, there really wasn't any build up to this. Of course, why would there be? The only men she's had any sort of interaction with are a man who is many, many years her senior and a guy who's her stepbrother. So those are not two people that she would normally be having any sort of romantic attraction to if she were straight. And of course, she's been interacting with May, but she doesn't even really know May. So it does kind of come out of nowhere. But at the same time, what in the story prior to this point would have actually made that information relevant, I'm really not sure. Point is, though, she had someone in her life that she really cared about. Not just the kids on the bus that she was a teacher for, who were on the Golden Gate Bridge at the wrong time. No, she had someone in her life that wanted to settle down with her, who was really important to her. And she's no longer in Kate's life after the events of G-Day. But of course that brings us to the other side of the spectrum, wherein if you're only focused on hooray for representation, you're ignoring the fact that with this information comes the revelation that Kate's not really a good person. Like I said, she had a girlfriend that she was cheating on. That's another bit of relevant information. She, for some reason, we don't get all of the details here, and who knows if we're going to get them all, but we can still discern that she definitely has issues with commitment. She likes this other woman, and they clearly are close enough that they do have a physical side to their relationship, but she's not willing to take the next step that this other woman clearly wants to take, and so she sleeps around. That's treated as a character flaw. One of the reasons why this other woman is no longer in Kate's life. And with all of that, that is compounded by the events that happen on the bridge. The horror of coming face to face with a monster 300 times her size. And all of it winds up piling onto her PTSD. We now know why at the beginning she was so standoffish and not wanting to actually be where she wound up going. And it was because she was resistant to the idea at all. She was so closed off after all of those events, and wallowing not just in the trauma of something beyond her control, but the trauma of what was in her control that she screwed up with, that she basically was ready to completely shut down. Going to Tokyo at the beginning of the series was basically her mother's idea, a way to force her back into the world of the living. And it's understandable now why she would be resistant to that idea. I mean, it's not something she wanted to do. She was ready to just sort of lock herself in her room and waste away, but her mother wasn't going to have that. I doubt her mother knew that when she sent her daughter to Tokyo, it would start this whole adventure that winds up with a government conspiracy and titans and everything, but looking back, now we can say it all makes sense. And yes, they decided to convey that through a lesbian relationship. But so what? It's not about representation, and it's not about pandering. I would say this actually does count as storytelling. At least for now. There is potential that they could always screw it up before the season ends. But at this point, we don't know. All I can say for the moment is that the way the series is shaping up at this juncture, it makes sense in context. We also learn a little bit more about May and have certain things confirmed that were basically hinted at. You could pretty much tell from the beginning. She was in Tokyo because she didn't want to be in America, And you kind of figured there was something going on there that she was running from. Turns out it's that she's running from people who would want her dead or indebted somehow. She doesn't give away many details, but her fear of this basically leads to her betraying Ken and Kate. And this betrayal is treated for what it is, a very scummy move. Even May herself admits that, as she's trying to say, but it's okay now, I can fix it. And the others are just like, no, up yours, this was a rotten thing to do. And it's stuff like that, as well as the stuff that's going on with Kate, that tells me these characters are not the Mary Sue kind of characters we've been seeing so many of in recent fiction. If they were Mary Sues, well, one of the defining traits of a Mary Sue is that a Mary Sue can do no wrong. Even if she does do wrong, it's ultimately right in the long run. But here, I mean, granted, again, there's still potential for this to go any direction before the show ends. But here, our female characters are shown to be flawed, and those flaws are not excused, nor are they reframed as actually being virtues. May is on the run, and when she had a chance to no longer be on the run, she sold out the people she was with, who are also technically on the run. That was a very selfish thing to do, and she is not given any pardon for that, at least not as of the latest episode. Kate made a whole bunch of mistakes, and she has to live with the consequences of what she did and what she didn't do, and she wound up closed off as a result, and she's starting to open up, but that doesn't mean that anything from her past is just made hunky-dory. So we have complex characters here. We're not looking at characters who are being given special treatment, basically. And I am very much grateful that this is the case. Again, it could potentially change, but I don't want it to. And I'm really hoping it doesn't. As for Kaiju stuff, well, the episode where the characters are trying to get away from the Frostvark, apparently that's what the Alaskan Titan is called, that actually played out pretty interestingly. I thought the Frostvark presented some interesting ways to challenge our characters, especially when they barely have any resources to work with. Godzilla's presence in the most recent episode is kind of setting up the sort of return to form for his anti-heroism, where they're kind of taking a similar approach to King of the Monsters, in which they start by framing him as potentially antagonistic, particularly in the eyes of one particular character, but then gradually it's going to become more apparent that he's not the bad guy, he's not the enemy. I mean, one of the last lines in the most recent episode is Shaw saying he's trying to help Godzilla, not stop him, which is appalling to Kate, but by the end, Kate's probably going to get the full message. Now, we don't know what they're actually trying to stop. All they're saying is that it's going to be another event like G-Day, but times 1,000 or 1,000,000. Now, that could be referring to the events that will transpire in King of the Monsters, or it could be referring to something completely different. I mean, considering this is meant to take place right after the events of the first movie, saying that it refers to King of the Monsters, which is still 4 years off from when this series takes place, might be a bit of a stretch. But who knows? If the series goes for multiple seasons, that might actually be it. We might see these characters constantly trying to stave off the rise of King Ghidorah and ultimately have it be for nothing. And maybe the final season will be a sub-story for King of the Monsters, where we see these characters struggling against all these other titans while the events of the movie are also taking place. I'm just spitballing all of that, mind you. It just popped into my mind literally as I was talking. But at this point, the only people who know are the people making the show. Although there's also an interesting way in which they're treating Monarch and sort of addressing the fact that, like, the first movie, clearly Monarch's policy was observe but don't interfere. By the time we get to King of the Monsters, that policy changes to we need to interfere because we actually do have a role to play. Monarch seems to be showing the progression of how we get from the one to the other, starting with that question, what if Godzilla had lost and we didn't interfere? So it's presenting this idea that there are people within Monarch who think we should be doing more. It's part of our mission. And of course, in King of the Monsters, we know it's going to be revealed that humanity does have a role to play in the grander scheme of things. So, I think that's what they're building to anyway. I guess the only way to know is to watch the rest of the season, which so far I am still enjoying, even if I did drop off for a little bit. So, I guess that's all I have to say at the moment, which I realize might not be much considering how many episodes I let go by without commentary, but I still have plenty to say about other episodes in the future, or at least I hope I will. So anyway, I'm just gonna end it now before I just start rambling, just to make this video longer, which I could do potentially for hours, mind you. I could just go on and on and on about nothing if I really wanted to, and no one could really stop me because I'm in control of this video. So I could just keep going on and 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 on. But for your guys' sake, I'm not going to, and I'm going to end it here for real. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off. Thank you all for watching. Now be sure to head down to the description to check us out on other platforms, as well as find links to the 5 current books in the Tales from the Omni Vault universe. Again, thank you all, and we'll see you next time.